You're welcome in this place. I'm lost without you. Can't do nothing without you. Oh no. And you are welcome in. You're welcome in this place. My heart says yes. My heart says yes to your will, to your way. And you are welcome in. You're welcome in this place.
Good evening and welcome to MentorMe Memorable Moments. Hello, Dwayne.
Hello there. What's going on, girl?
Oh, nothing much, nothing much. Well, we do have an exciting program tonight. I am Tracy Everette, your host with MentorMe Memorable Moments.
And I am Dwayne Ross,
Yes.
co-host tonight.
Yes,
Sitting in for a little somebody that's out on the road a little bit.
That's
taking
right.
care of
That's
some things
right.
with Mom.
Yeah, William should be back soon. And until then, you've got us, and we are still having a fantastic program planned for you tonight on our mental health segment. So I want to welcome all 135 nations in all 50 states to WLVS Radio. You're probably watching us through www.listenvisionlive.com or mentorme411.com. So welcome.
Welcome.
So we have a guest also on the program with us for the first segment. Otha, can you hear us? Oh, wonderful.
How you doing?
Fine. This is Otha Alexander, and he is calling from Georgia, Columbus, Georgia. And he is co-hosting for Dr. Michelle tonight.
Awesome.
Yes,
Awesome.
she is celebrating Mama's Day.
Yes.
And happy Mother's Day to everyone out there as
Happy
well.
Mother's Day.
So, Otha, welcome to MentorMe Memorable Moments.
Okay, I'm glad to be here.
And we are excited to have you here, too. You are going to be talking to us tonight about battling stress, the stress of having diabetes. And I know there are millions and millions of Americans alone that have diabetes type 1, diabetes type 2, and some are even pre-diabetic. But Otha is joining us because he has been teaching diabetic education for the past 5 years.
Awesome. Because there's a lot of children right now.
Oh, yes.
Just getting diagnosed right off the bat.
That is so true. That is true. So, Otha, you and I talked. Before we get started in this segment, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, as you mentioned, I'm from Columbus, Georgia. I'm originally from Chicago, but I love it down there. I got tired of that snow and the cold weather, so I moved to Georgia.
Okay.
I've been here about 7 years now, and I love it.
All right.
63 years old.
Oh, okay.
And so,
Young man.
And so I've been a diabetic about 20 years, about 28 years now.
Wow.
And when I first went to, have myself diagnosed to see if that was the problem, my doctor told me indeed it was diabetics. It was diabetes. And he said he had something to ask me, though. He asked me about my age and about my weight. It was all good. But I was under 40 years old. And so he was wondering what was going on because he didn't see diabetics back in those days under 40. Mm-hmm. And it was called adult onset at the time.
Ah.
And so, so he was asking me, are you under stress? And so I told him, yeah, I had a janitorial business, and and I was working 20 hours a day, and 7 days a week. And of course, I was eating everything. I was out in the street so much, working, and I was hitting all the fast food places. And my car seat, my front seat was full with snacks, soda pops, and things like that.
Mm-hmm. So what caused you to go and see the doctor in the first place?
Yeah, what were some of the things that you were experiencing?
Yeah, right.
I was drinking a lot of water. I think I was drinking like a gallon of water a day.
That's one. That's a big one. That's what
And
got me.
right. And of course, I was doing all the water. It was causing me to urinate. You know, I was doing a lot of urinating, and that's what caused me to go. Somebody said, you know, it sounds like diabetes, so maybe you should check that out.
Wow. And see, I had mentioned earlier on the program a few months ago, and we were doing the segment on detoxing in the mental health area. So, you know, for those that are viewing us for the first time, or if you want to review those segments under mental health that dealt with diabetes and detoxing and obesity, you can go to MentorMe411.com in the archives, and you'll find all the videos. But I had mentioned, and I don't think you were with us at the time.
I was there one at a time. And I remember you talking about a number of different things, but diabetes happened to be one of those things that...
Yeah. I was drinking so much water, and like Otha said, urinating so much that I didn't know what was wrong. I just thought I was dehydrated. And until I went to my physician on a routine exam, and he pricked my finger and told me, you need to get right over to the local hospital. Do not stop. Promise me you will not stop. Wow. Get there. I've already called ahead, and they're expecting you. So I just kind of went on over there and checked in, and about 10 hours later, 10 hours later, they saw me. I threatened to leave because I didn't understand why.
Why you had to be here. It
and
seems
they
like
just
everything else was going great.
Exactly. They kept feeding me ice chips. And I didn't want any more ice chips. And finally, they told me that my diabetic reading was over 500. And I was admitted to the hospital, and I was there for 7 days until I kicked and screamed and complained again. I need to get up out of here.
You know, but most people won't even take the moment to even think about what's going on with them. And they'll think, you know, because I know even myself, I know I'm supposed to drink a lot of water. So, and I've been drinking a lot of water in my life. So to think I got to drink more water,
right,
because of something that's really happening versus, hey, I'm doing great because I'm drinking all this water.
So, Otha, when you're teaching the classes, is this like a common theme in the classroom with those who are just learning about diabetes?
You're asking as far as common as,
like the things that you experience,
and what they are talking about in your class.
As far as the symptoms, you know, there are other symptoms. Some people say their eyes are blurry, and there's some other things too. But the blurriness of the eyes, the tingling of the skin.
Yes.
You know, some people have a numbness and tingling. So, but the urination and the drinking of a lot of water is usually the main one that people bring up.
Well, you know, when you and I were talking, and I told you about the segments that we did on the chemicals that we eat, breathe, touch, smell, all of that, and how it affects yeah, we do that. Shower with them. And you went to the website and took a look at some things. So under the mental health segment on September the 7th, and this is for some that are interested out there, we had a segment with Dr. Michelle that talked about horrid chemicals, and those were all the things that I just mentioned. But Mike, if you could throw that slide up real quick, some of the things that we mentioned that these horrid chemicals, and there were 5 top ones, have an impact on our body, is that, you know, it causes the nervous system or it results in us being depressed, because it affects the nervous system, causes dizziness, vomiting, sudden drops in blood pressure if it's inhaled. If it gets in the eyes, it becomes an irritant, in the lungs as well. There's carcinogen in it that can cause cancer, and it can also, some of these chemicals can alter the genetic material of the cells. I mean, there were a lot of things that we spoke about in the September and October segments, and the importance of detoxing. We also looked at the January 11th segment. I think this was mental health as well, where we talked about the parasitic attacks that
parasites
happen
living inside and just hanging out.
Oh my gosh, and we don't know it's there, and so they deposit themselves in the fatty tissues and causes us to become so heavy, so fat, for lack of word. But also, you mentioned that you had parasites as well. You didn't know this.
Right, exactly. I ended up going, because it had gotten pretty bad. It was getting so bad I couldn't, my stomach was swollen, constipation. So, I got on some concerns, so I ended up, taking myself to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And, they gave me some, gave me medicine, which of course it didn't make me feel too good, so I didn't like that.
Right.
But I eventually ended up drinking it's a certain tea a friend of mine gave me, and that's how I found out I had the parasites.
Okay.
So I was drinking and noticed the bloating and everything was going down. And I looked back when I,
Mm-hmm.
like when I was in the bathroom, I looked back and see these little things swimming around.
Oh,
like,
my God.
Oh, you were a host body.
Oh, and
you had aliens.
Yes, and you don't know how long you have had those parasites.
Right, and I hear they can live in your system up to about 25 years.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
Yeah, you won't even know they're there. Yeah.
But we also had a session that we talked about in physical health with Jamila Nayroy, and I think that was January the 15th, where we were talking about the health crisis in America, and that is the obesity and diabetes segment. And we mentioned that today there are I guess there are about 2/3 overweight and obese Americans today.
2/3 of the population.
Yeah, that's it. 2/3 of the population,
Right.
and that fewer than 1/3 exercises at least 3 times a week. So obesity rates in children have increased just as much too.
Yeah.
We also looked at, because of the obesity, it may, I won't say it will, but there's a high propensity that it may result in diabetes.
Well,
Right.
and they're not even given, a lot of direction on what to do. So how did you decide, or what did you decide to do once you discovered that you had this illness?
What did I decide to do?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Actually, to be honest, I didn't do too much. In fact, actually for a long time, I didn't do too much. I didn't really take care of myself like I was supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, I know I had to get it under control. I had children,
Mm-hmm.
so one of the things I had to start doing was, the first step is eating correctly.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the number one thing. And I wasn't really overweight, but I watched my weight more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I knew I had to start eating right, letting
Okay.
go a lot of the carbs and things like that.
Mm-hmm. So I'm curious, back then, you mentioned diabetes was referred to as something else.
Onset,
Okay.
adult onset, because usually it was just adults that was getting it at the time. I said adults, I mean like over 40 years old. Usually you didn't see anyone over 40 years old.
So
Or under 40 years old with diabetes.
it's interesting that back then you left with not enough information. And then if you fast forward to today, you are now a diabetic
Bombarded.
educator. What happened to
Right.
cause you to even focus in this area?
Well, once I started having a lot of I was starting to have some of the issues of a diabetic who's had it for a long time. And I just got tired of it. And I think I was more tired of the medicine than I was the disease itself.
Yes.
So I started investigating and trying some of the things that I seen that may work, and that's what it was working for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I began sharing with my family, who are I have a lot of family who are diabetics, and they began getting good results also.
Okay.
And so from that step, I decided to start sharing it with the world.
Mm-hmm.
So did you have someone in your family already diagnosed as well, and you thought it wasn't going to happen to me? Or because you said some of your family had diabetes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, quite a few of them. Actually, I had a lot of family members who died because of diabetes. I had a brother who was real close. He had heart issues because of diabetes. And so I started sharing information about, ways that they can, keep their sugars down, sharing with them, the things that they needed to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
So they did real well.
This became very personal for you then.
Right, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And a lot of them got off their medications, just like I did.
Oh my
I ready to
gosh.
come off all my medications. You know?
Okay, you know
And I was
what?
taking a lot of medicine, a lot of medicine.
So
We
you,
are
so
going
you,
to get
you were
there.
given all these different medications in order to subdue or to live with it, and then you chose to fight off the medication by living a different way. So you said you started
Exactly.
food, eating,
Exactly.
and what were some of the other strategies that you employed?
I started exercising a little bit more. I've always been into exercise, but I just started doing it a little bit more. I knew it would burn the sugars off, and so I started doing that a little bit more. Investigating the best thing to eat, because a lot of people don't know that fruit is not a good thing if you're a diabetic.
Oh, I
You don't
know.
know what to eat. It's like,
You see those recipes coming
Yeah,
across
it's
social
like-
media? Oh, Lord, cheesecakes
Eat,
and chocolate
cardboard
truffles.
eggs. Yeah.
But you know what, Otha, let me ask Mike to throw up a slide real quick. And this was another one that came out of a program that we had, and it had to do with the feelings of being overstressed, and which is our topic for your
Right,
segment
the
tonight.
stress.
You know, battling the stress of diabetes. I think you hit
Right.
it when you said you were very frustrated and tired of taking medicine and tired of having this disease and just wanted to get rid of it. Well, let me raise my hand and say, me too. Okay, I am ready. I think I have tried everything out there to tasteless food. And for some reason, I just can't get those ranges under control. Either they drop too low in the 70s and the 60s and steadily dropping. And we know what happens if it drops too far. Talking about diabetic coma. Or it goes too high over the 300s. And I do know that food allergies can also spike within a diabetic that causes those ranges to explode. So can you tell me, can you help us out there, those of us who are feeling the stress of this disease?
And those that want to keep it at bay and not have it attach itself to...
Exactly. Can you take a few minutes and talk to us about that?
Okay. Well, it's a lot of things that causes people to have stress, and just having diabetes is a big deal.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah, it causes a lot of stress.
Can I ring that
You
bell?
know, with
Yeah, you should ring
medication
the
and the
bell,
way you
'cause
feel, and not being able
You're like,
to control the sugars.
That's
dirty
right.
word.
Mm-hmm.
It's an
It
awful
causes a lot
thing.
of stress.
Yeah, because people don't know what to do. And there's so much information. Now we have information overload.
That's right.
And one person saying do this, another person saying do that, the doctor saying do that, and then this doctor comes back and say, no, don't do that. So
But
how did you wade through all of that stuff to get to something that worked for you?
Right, exactly. And that's one of the things I tell people, I never put a doctor down because they went through a lot to get to where they are, and they can share some helpful information. But I always tell a person, after you see your doctor, then go research it.
Yes.
Don't just take what you hear for granted.
To yourself, be known.
True.
That's
to
right.
find the truth.
Right.
That's right.
And that's,
Wow.
They'll tell you a lot of things, and then they won't tell you a lot of things. I still talk to a lot of diabetics who don't know things that they should know. A lot of the basics.
Wow. So is
So
that
it's
like
good,
misinformation or just not enough information, or?
I think, I think it's a great segment into what we're about to talk about. I think it's myth information.
Myth?
Right.
Myth information. So
that
let's
like
talk about the myth.
Mississippi? No.
So let's take a look at that first myth. Mike, if you can throw that slide up. Now, let me ask you this, Otha. It says obesity and diabetes are inherited. Is that right?
Well, obesity can be inherited. As far as, I think we talked about that before or earlier this week. The father can pass on a gene to his daughter.
Wow.
But that don't mean she's going to be obese. It's still a matter of choice. She still don't have to be obese, but it can happen because she has the gene, and she's not careful about what she eats. She'll become a diabetic or become overweight. As far as diabetes is concerned, type 1 diabetes can be,
Inherited?
inherited.
Oh.
But type 2, that's the one I hear a lot. People always say, I'm a
That's what
type
you
2
hear most of the
diabetic,
time.
and I'm
That's
diabetic
me.
because my mother and my father is. Well, actually, there is no type 2 diabetic gene. But what you inherit is your parents' or grandparents' lifestyle.
Yes,
Oh.
that's right.
Okay, so if for instance, like me, I came up eating soul food. The bread, the biscuits,
Chitterlings?
eating it all. Right.
That's
right.
right.
So if you
Pork
take
chops?
that and eat like that, you're going to become a diabetic like your parents were, And so it's not, there's no genotype 2 diabetic gene that is passed on. It's just you inherit the lifestyle of your parents or grandparents. And if you live that lifestyle, you're going to end up with the disease,
Okay, so let's roll with myth number 2. And that is that there is no obesity crisis, just a weight loss center hype.
Wow.
Right. Okay.
Weight loss center hype.
Well, because quite honestly, I had heard.
Now, you know what?
I had.
There is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead.
let me just real quick before you answer that. I had heard that while America slept, these diet centers all agreed to raise the level of the body mass so that when we awakened, everybody was overweight. And so
And
you
now
had these diet
It's a
centers.
huge financial gain
yes,
to go back
exactly.
out now with this huge, humongous industry.
So how true or not is that?
Well, the weight loss center hype is true, but it's because of the obesity crisis.
Okay.
They're going to take advantage of it. I mean, they know it's a crisis. It's up there with diabetes. It's a serious issue. Young kid. I was seeing the other day a little. She's about 9 or 10 years old. And she weighed more than me.
Wow.
So I'm over 200 pounds, but it is a crisis, and they're
Okay.
trying to get some kind of control over it.
Well, when you talk about obesity too, and you talk about weight, because the body mass index, I've never been able to stay within that. I look like I was anorexic if I was 156 pounds at my height.
Right.
But I do understand being 250 pounds, not still being where I should be, but. Not that I am. I'm not 250. I'm using that as an example.
he's not.
Everybody chill,
I'm not
relax.
either. I'm
Don't
not
send the
either.
people after me. Come wait.
No.
But the people are gaining so much weight, and obesity is in front. But talk about how all that kind of comes together, because even the school district has now looked at what they did, because they had all this drinking of pop soda, all kind of things into the that were not good for anyone to consume.
And now they got the broccoli and the vegetables in, and the kids
Some,
are kicking the fit.
But you still have some that are eating the cardboard sandwiches and the pizza that's made out of rocks. So I don't know. Talk about that.
Yeah, it's definitely a big issue. A lot of people are starting to recognize, especially with the children in the schools. Sugar is the issue, really, when you look right at it. Sugar is in everything now.
Right.
Okay.
And so you have to be careful. You have to be careful what you eat. You got to read the back of the box or the
That
package
is true.
you're buying.
That is true. So we're going to quickly go through the remaining slides because I'm getting a signal here, and I love my engineer. He keeps me on track.
Mike.
So myth 3 says that if I lose weight, I can reduce to eliminate health risks like diabetes. Is that true?
Okay, it's not a myth, and yes, it is true that if you lose weight, you can reduce. A lot of not just diabetes, but a lot of illnesses and diseases.
Okay.
I was looking here at the picture here. So they're all here. Diabetes, hypertension.
And they
cancer.
seem to go hand to hand.
Oh well, yeah, because we're not like we used to be. We don't have to. I was watching a just Soul Train. You ever watch Soul Train? Back in the day, everybody was thin and slender and kind of dancing and moving and shaking.
Right.
And then you look at people today, and you wonder what happened to them even caring about their bodies.
Right.
The clothes are bigger.
We have the super size now.
Yeah. So.
You know what? You mentioned earlier that some of the things that we can look at to reduce that obesity and get that diabetes under control is to eat healthy and to exercise. One of the things that helped me lose 11 pounds in 3 weeks was the water and lemon detox diet. Yeah, that is definitely effective. But then there are also some herbal teas and things out there that people can drink and take that helps them cleanse, like Otha did, and also drop that weight. So I'll say this as we're wrapping up. And Mike, if you can throw up Otha's contact information while I'm closing out this segment. I saw on a commercial, and I don't know if our viewers or you, Dwayne and Otha, have seen this, where they have this commercial about this woman who wants to lose weight. She's working with a physician to do it, and they are giving her meds and pills, but they don't call it out like that. You have to listen very closely. And they also use the word force weight drop. So these pills now that they're giving you is forcing the body to morph itself so that you can drop that weight. I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like anything that's foreign to what was created from the earth. That's one of our problems.
Right, exactly.
So, Otha, you are getting ready to teach some classes in Georgia, Columbus, Georgia.
Right.
So talk
right here in Columbus, Georgia.
Talk to us a little bit about that and how people can contact you to get enrolled in these classes.
And is the classes also available like online? Or
Webinars, seminars. You got somebody here that attend.
Well, yeah, it's going to eventually lead to online classes. Right now, we're just basically putting together a support group. You know, that's one of the biggest things with diabetics. You know, if they have a group to support them, you know, it usually goes a lot easier. You know, if they have other people that understand what they're going through. So that's what I'm setting up here is a support group as well as, you know, things where I can teach the community about diabetes.
Well, thank you. We see your Facebook information in the group that they can join. Also, they can contact you via the email, and Skype is a wonderful thing to have. And you are also on LinkedIn. And I'll also put some link information up on MentorMe411.com. But we do want to thank you for bringing this information to us.
And thank you for inviting me.
Yes, and you're also invited to hang on for the second segment if you like. The only thing that we ask is that you mute your phone. And as you're listening to the program, if you have some questions or comments, unmute and just chime on in. But we're going to take a break right now, Dwayne. Okay, and then we're going to get into your segment. But there is this video that Dwayne sent over that I thought it was perfect for his segment that talks about the challenges of the disabled. And so we're going to get into that. But for right now, let's take a look at this video. Is her name Rion? Or Ryan?
Ryan Page.
I'll butcher a name in a minute.
I was going to Rihanna. No, I didn't put her on the video.
It's Ryan Page in Born This Way.
Born This Way. It's going to help us with the segment. Check a look.
My mama told me when I was young, we were all born superstars. She rolled my hair and put my lipstick on in the glass of a Budweiser. There's nothing wrong with loving who you are, she said, 'cause he made you perfect, babe. So hold your head up, girl, and you'll go far. Just listen to me when I say I'm beautiful in my way, 'cause God makes no mistakes. I'm on the right track, baby, I was born this way. Don't love yourself in regret, just love yourself in yourself. I'm on the right track, baby, I was born this way. Ooh, there ain't no other way, baby, I was born this way. Right track, baby, I was born this way. My mama told me when I was young, we were all born superstars. I'm beautiful in my way, 'cause God makes no mistakes. I'm on the right track, baby, I was born
kingdom. Banger. What up? It's the child. It's time to bring that weight to the front.
I want to hear a little bit more of that, Mikey Mike. Faded that out. Hey,
DJ
this is the
Mike.
Chop. This is D. Ross, Dwayne Ross. Hey, this is gorgeous. It's beautiful. Second segment, we're going to be talking about a lot of different things. We're talking about, that was Ryan Page, and she was on the X Factor.
Okay.
And people got caught up on her arms because she was born with a disability where her arms were not as useful as most people. But you know what I was saying at the break, it was her voice. You know, you go there because she wants to sing. She doesn't care that you look at her arms. And people were saying, well, if she's on the stage, how are they going to pay attention?
Okay.
But something in the song, she said, God makes no mistakes.
That's right.
And see, God doesn't make mistakes. And every single person that was born on the earth was born with something to bring to the earth that's going to benefit everybody else. And so my segment today, we're talking about employment and people with disabilities, and putting people who are, you know, usually put into the background. We're going to bring them to the forefront today.
Okay.
You know, and we're going to talk about some things that are happening in the state of Maryland that's also happening right here in the state of D.C., you know, in the area of Washington, D.C., and how it affects the finances of Medicaid. Because, see, when the Obamacare, Affordable Care Act came forward, people said it's going to bankrupt us because we're going to spend so much money on all these different people who are currently going to be needing supports as they age, because we have a huge aging population that is just every single day 70,000 people, you know, turning, or it's more than 70,000. The baby boomers are turning 70, you know, and it's they're meshing now into the same pot of money that people with disabilities was getting. So it's not separated anymore. So it was something that they didn't really pay attention to in the past, but they have to for the future. So now with the they passed this rule, and they had a they had a review of a waiver that allows people with disabilities to sit at home and receive some type of care, or they get put into a service like a program, a day program, where, you know, it could be a healthcare program where they could just sit there and, you know, they're in a big room with a bunch of people and they get nursing care, and they're doing well because the parents are out at work and they need someone to watch them because they can't just leave them at home by themselves, because some need 100% total care for all of their ADLs, which is their adult the things that they need for adult living, right?
So then are you saying that before Obamacare, these individuals were sitting home with other individuals who were giving them care, so there wasn't an opportunity for someone to go to work in the household?
That was still available, but it wasn't a mandate. So it was okay for a parent to say, well, you know, I don't really think my son and daughter could do anything. They were born this way, so therefore there's nothing else they can do. And the state said, well, wait, maybe they can be contributors, or maybe they do have a life. Maybe they have something that they want to participate in. And then there were all kind of examples of people who, you know, had this major overcoming for their disability, and they did major things in the earth. You know, a lot of people are familiar with Helen Keller. You know, what a lot of people don't know is at the end of her story, well, she became the person that also taught the third person that was teaching her. And so because of blind, you know, going blind and things of this nature. So, you know, there's a lot to be said when it comes to giving people an employment option first, because, you know, you and I, we go to work because we know we can get money. So we're trading time for dollars, right? And then we get to go do the things that we love to do. Well, people that have disabilities, a lot of times they're in families who they need that income from their services, and they use it to pay for their cars, their houses, and things of this nature, but not specifically for that individual. You know, yes, they'll make sure they have their medication. Yes, they'll make sure they're clean and things of this nature, but they're not really looking at them going to work, because now I don't get this guaranteed check. What they don't realize, or what they choose not to really pay attention to, is if I do go out and get work, now not only am I working, my income level is going to go up.
Right.
So the money that is going into like if I only get $1,700 or $700 a month from the waiver money or from my services, but I go out and make $1,700 a month, I'm $1,000 ahead. And at the end of the year, if they do the taxes right, which is a whole different thing, they can be in a situation where they actually, participated. They did something that's honorable. They're not just existing. And so we want to challenge people who have their family members kind of sitting in closets, and it's actually still people that do this.
Yeah.
They push them in closets, or they have them in certain rooms, or they keep them in basements, and they're there all day. And some that go to shelters, workshops, they go to these places that are called day programs, which I happen to be a director of a day program in the Southern Maryland area. And the way that they were doing business across the state was challenged as well. And so today I want to talk about a couple of different things. You can put that first slide up.
Wow.
Because see, employment first is an option that it says, well, all people with disabilities, are they able to be employed? And the question is not whether all are employed, but all who want to be working should have the opportunity to work. Okay, and so there's this thing called shelter workshops. And why is the federal government against them? Well, in shelter workshops, a lot of people are put at a table. They're all disabled, and they're making thousands and millions of dollars for the corporation, but they're still only getting $2.60 an hour.
Get out of here.
Yes. So piecework, So here they were at these places across the nation, and someone challenged that law, challenged that rule, and they said, wait a minute, we want to challenge it. And it was called the Armstead Rule, where they looked at these people who were working, and they said, you know what? They were determined that the unjustified segregation of people with disabilities constituted discrimination.
Hello.
And here's the thing. Thank you, Mike. They followed the same guidelines that happened with civil rights. They said, I want to work, yes. I want to live, yes. But I have the right to make as much money as anybody else.
Right.
But they weren't making that kind of money because they have what's called a 14C certificate, which allows people to get paid what's called sub-minimum wage. Under sub-minimum wage, a person can do the same exact work as you, who have the full ability to do, and I can do a part of that job, and you will give me only what I'm worth based on the piece that I do. But that piece rate is so small because it's based on some universal numbers that are from countries that have nowhere near the type of financial system that we have. And so when they looked at all that, individuals said, well, wait a minute, I've been making $2.13 for 10 years.
Oh my!
And there was an actual CEO that was put on that brought to the table for a major organization. If I said the name, you'd know it. And their salary was over $10 million. But the average person that was working for them was less than $5 per hour. And with the minimum wage going up, that's another struggle, because now you're going to have a person with a disability who can't do all of the job making $10 an hour. 10 was it going to be 10, 15, right? And in Maryland it's going to go up. And you imagine somebody who just came out of high school is going to make the same exact amount.
That's right.
So there's a crisis happening, but they still should get the opportunity to work. And so today we're going to be talking about that. And then the Medicaid, they have what's called home and community-based waiver. The home and community-based waiver says that an individual who is at home, if they're segregated from the population, then that's discrimination. That's the same thing in the nature of how the location is. If the location is segregated, it's off in the woods somewhere in the back, like a factory someplace where there's no other interaction with people without disabilities. And so what they're looking to do is actually, help people find jobs that are in integrated environments. That means you and I are sitting next to each other. We're going to the same break room. We don't have a special break room. We have we use the same transportation to get back and forth. I might need an accommodation.
Right.
Perhaps maybe I might have more breaks than you, only because I have an accommodation so I can take my medicine or whatever it may be. Or maybe I need a wheelchair ramp and I need access. So there's a lot of things for that.
So are there different classes within the disabled community, those who are able to integrate versus those who don't have the mental capacity to do it? So they're not considered separate.
Yeah, it's not really a different class. Individuals who have mental illness or mental health issues connected to also their regular situation, they could have special services set up for them. And we're really talking about the masses of people. That's a very small amount of people who are segregated for their own safety and the safety of others. And that's why you have some places where they're specifically their doors locked and things of this nature. But we're living in a world that's called, least restrictive environment, where people are, working, with the ability to just have fun and enjoy life and have vacation and get vacation money saved up and get to go hang out at the bar with Phil, because Phil says at the end of the day, let's go get a drink. I want to go get a drink too.
Okay.
All right, here, help me with my wheelchair, but we're still going to go down there and do the same thing.
All right.
So it's like removing the barriers where instead of it being called a disability, it's called a diffability.
A diffa.
I have a
Like
different
different.
ability.
Okay.
Because the reality is we all have disability.
Yeah, that is true.
If you walked into, let's say, Germany right now, if I just popped you down into Germany, you'd have a disability,
And what would that be?
right? Because do you know German?
No, I.
So
Well,
you couldn't,
wow.
and you'd be looking at the signs thinking,
Woo.
so at that moment, until you're educated or you have an accommodation made for you, you really be at a disability, right?
Okay.
So there's a number of different things.
Wow.
And there's a guy that does this thing called Mr. Stillman. Bill Stillman. He has autism, and he talks about how if you look at it, there are certain things you just don't tolerate in your life. Like some people can't stand stuff all over the place. Well, they call it, a particular thing. They say, well, you have, you're ADD. You jump around all the time, moving around. Well,
OCD.
or OCD. Everything is compulsive, and you got to fix it and move it and stuff. So all those things happen, but sometimes that's a disability that just hasn't been diagnosed. So we have to help people. So when we talk about shelter workshops, people are secluded from others. They're not in an environment where they can just walk out the door and engage with everybody else. The building is secluded from others. It's off on the road by itself. So the nature of the definition of it makes it like that. Everyone is working on the project, and everyone on the project is disabled, and then no community integration. The only people they see are paid advocates. They don't have their best friend, their buddy from down the street coming by for lunch or, those kind of things. So it's very, very specific that this home-based community waiver says that, we need to make sure that people have access to work just like everybody else. People get paid minimum, wages at the level that they're able to produce, and that they have access to working side by side with everybody else. So that's part of the whole thing. And again, shelter workshops are making millions and millions of dollars, because if you think about it, you would ring the bell, right? Ring the bell.
That's a good thing.
But somebody had to put that bell together, because it's not that particular bell is not made in a place where a machine can do the work. So there are people somewhere putting all the three pieces together. And so you get an opportunity. So some people want to just shut down all kind of workshops. Well, I always give the analogy of this. Toyota, in my opinion, is like a workshop.
Yeah.
Because Toyota is an environment where everybody in there has to do one thing. They all get pieces to put together, and then at the end of the day, everybody goes get a paycheck for their piece. So it's piece rated, but they get paid thousands and thousands of dollars to do this. So we have to look at that.
Oh wow.
And people with disabilities, a lot of times, we think about what happened during the biblical times. Well, during the biblical times, people that they destroyed people with disabilities. They would just cut them off, cut their heads off, throw them over the side of the
set them outside the city gates.
Set them outside the city gates, throw them off the mountaintop, throw them into the ocean, all kind of different things. Drop a rock, a millstone, throw them out in the ocean. So, and then Jesus came along and said, "Wait a minute, we can do some healing." So Matthew 4:24 talks about how when he came in, it was like people brought to him all their ailments and things of this nature. Well, that kind of gives you the inclusion as well, that people were included in wanting to be part of society. Because why would you seek out healing if you were okay with being stuck off in your own little environment?
That's right. They
So,
want to
it's
be
like, hey, I
included.
want to be part.
Yes.
Count me in, coach, put me in,
Mm-hmm.
that type of thing. So we want to make sure that when people have this opportunity, that they're giving it at the highest level. So there's a couple of different things. Next slide. When you're looking at employing individuals with disabilities, there are a couple of different things, but one of the things is customized employment. Mike, if you can go to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Customized employment is looking at work in a different manner. When I go and I fill out an application or I turn in my resume, I have the ability to do all these different things. Well, people with disabilities might need some accommodation and assistance in that. So let's say, like in your office, you need someone to come in your office and type for you.
Mm-hmm.
So you look for someone that has typing skills, 50 words a minute, blah, 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 blah. Well, what we do in the disability world or the disability world is we look at customized things. So I might come to you and say, okay, what else gets under your skin?
Mm-hmm.
And you say, well, the typing is okay, but I cannot stand getting these letters right because I got 5,000 letters to mail out every week.
Right.
And I need somebody to get those out and take them over to the post office. And I need someone to help me, label up all my product and get my product together. And I need someone to sit at the table for hours because if I have to sit at the table for hours, I'm losing time.
Right.
Right. So maybe I might say to you, well, I have someone who's interested in working in the office who can't type 50 words a minute, but she's awesome with making sure that every label is 100% correct. She's awesome, or he's awesome with making sure he can put every single thing inside the folder the way that you want it and present it. And he can sit at the table for hours and not even care and just be like, hello, hi, and give out your information. And now how much is that worth to you?
Right. Oh, quite
So
a bit.
now
Yes.
I build the value in the person, not the job. And then I show you how it's a win-win-win solution. It's a win for the person because there's a customized employment. It's a win for you because now you get to go do what you really need to do, to benefit, moving your business forward. And now you have someone that's able to still serve your customer at the level that you want. So it's a really good way.
I like that idea.
For
We're
us
gonna do
to,
that.
and then when I said solve problems,
Yeah.
I have to now teach staff to look for solving issues for employers. And it's not just dedicated to the fluff, the folding, to the filth, because you always see, people say, well, you should have a job at Walmart. And they put the person in the front and they go, oh, welcome to Walmart, with cerebral palsy or whatever it may be, and they say, okay, that's the best thing they could do. But have they thought, can this person also do the security on the computer?
Right.
This person might really be able to do that.
Because they are gifted too.
Yes. Again, everybody comes to the earth with a gift. So we have what's called supported employment. Supported employment is when you might have an individual that's working and they can work pretty well, but every so often they need to be redirected or kind of set to make sure that they follow some guidelines. So you have a person that will come and say they're on the job, and now, Wegmans is an awesome organization, Giant Foods here in this area. These are organizations that have a culture for people with disabilities, and they say, we know that you're also going to bring your staff. So my staff is not only there to support that individual, but if they see something going on in the area, I can take care of that for you. So now you get the benefit of two for the price of one.
Right.
And that person still continues to have access to an integrated employment opportunities through supported employment. And then you have on-the-job training, which a lot of people are familiar with on-the-job training. But the thing about on-the-job training is this, some people need systems in order to get the job done. They don't have the mentality or the intellect to know where to start. So we have individuals with disabilities or disabilities, they learn systems. So they have a strategy to get the place cleaned or get the particular thing prepared.
And that's the type of person you would want, someone who's meticulous.
It's going to be the same way every single time. You can count on it. And that's one other really good selling point for people with disabilities. They don't take off work because they love the fact that they get an opportunity. The unemployment rate for people with disabilities is over 70%, up to 82%, depending on where you read. All right? If you look at the Department of Labor, you'll find that it's in the 78th percentile. All right? So there's apprenticeships. So another thing, thank you, is to help them learn a skill that they can trade. And then, of course, job shadowing and what they call natural supports. Natural supports is that first is me there supporting him, and then I learned that Sally loves him, and they get along, and then I get them together, and now Sally's the one that redirects, and I stand in the back and I train Sally, and now Sally is a nurse. She's doing all the nursing equipment and getting all the doctor equipment ready, and all the dentist equipment ready, or whatever it may be, helping the plumber get ready for whatever, and then one guy, Joe, comes over and just makes sure everything's good and keeps on rolling. And now he's in the environment, he's integrated in the environment, or she's in the environment, and they're moving on in employment. I'm out of the way. The employer's happy, they're happy, and they're benefiting life, and their life is just a better place. And the last thing was job carving, because we can always find a way to carve a place in the world for people with disabilities. So there's a couple people that I highlighted on the next slide that I just want to kind of touch base real quick. You're going to see a young man, Richie Parker. Richie Parker is an engineer.
Oh, really?
Yes. He loved NASCAR. If you can put the next slide up. And because he loved NASCAR, he told his dad that he wanted his own car, and he wanted to fix this car. And he did such a good job that he started designing engine parts.
Is Richie the one that we have the video of?
Yeah, we'll be seeing him later.
Okay.
And I'm just want to set him up real quick because there's 3 people here. And then when Richie became an engineer, he went to the point that he learned how to engineer these, and now he works for NASCAR. This young lady, Jessica Cox, also, she flies a plane. But the 2 things that the both of them have in common, they have no arms. None. They learn to do everything with their toes and their feet, and it's amazing. And then this gentleman, Tim Harris, who owns his own restaurant. He gives away hugs. He had Down syndrome. He told his dad, I want my own restaurant. They had to think beyond the label and figure out a way to look beyond the Walmart greeter.
That's right.
And so, yes, we do have a clip.
Mike, let's take a quick look at Richie's clip, The Driver. That was amazing.
Yes, it's awesome.
How do you get through your day? Make it from one place to another, one task to the next. How do you do it?
Wow.
That's Richie. I invite you guys to take a minute and look at that because that's just awesome.
I'll upload that video so that they can go to the archives and see it in full. And you know, what was her name? Jennifer?
Jessica Cox.
Jessica's out there flying airplanes.
With her toes.
Yeah.
Putting on makeup. Doing her, even doing her eyelashes.
So, Dwayne, you mentioned that you're the director over
of a vocational center for the same. You know, I don't really promote my job because I'm here on my own business, but I do. I work with 102 individuals every single day, and I look for the light. My goal is to help my staff understand what makes their life better. And so, in Baltimore, they have what's called the Workforce Training Center. So I'm going to be doing a workshop up there May 27th.
Okay.
And I work with other populations. And in this case, I'm working with inmates, people who are released from jail. So I'll be talking about that as well.
Boy, I want to hear about that because there are some coming out that, the environment has changed.
Yes.
When they went in, it was platform shoes. They're coming out there as flip-flops, you know. But Dwayne's information is out there on MentorMe401.com. You can connect with him. If you send him an email through his profile, it only goes to him. I don't see it, and no one else sees it. But I think this wraps up our segment.
Yes.
Otha, I want to thank you if you're still on call. Thank you very much for calling in. Next week, we're coming back with financial management. That is me. Woo. And the fashionistas from Is the New Black. So between now and then, we need you to be smart, be safe, and be healthy. Bye. Bye-bye.
See, I gotta remember that too.
Well, I wear my clothes like this because I can. And I wear my hair like this because I can. And I walk around like this because I can. And I do my thing like this because it's who I am. And if you expect me to give you an apology for being nothing that you're used to, go right ahead and wait. Hold your breath and concentrate. Keep holding till your face turn blue. My road ain't your road, but just I know just where I'm going. And my flow ain't your flow, but just I know just how I'm flowing. I'ma do my thing. Please feel free to hate and complain. Said I'ma do my thing. Say what you want, but this one ain't gonna change. Said I'ma do my thing. I can't wear my clothes like you because I'm not. I can't do my hair like you because I'm not. I can't walk around like you because I'm not. I can't do my thing like you, well it just ain't hot. And if you're expecting me to give you an apology for being nothing like you used to, go right on and head away. Hold your breath and concentrate. Keep holding till your face turns blue. See my road, it ain't your road, but trust I know just where I'm going. In my flow, it ain't your flow, but trust I know just how I'm flowing. I'ma do my thing. So please feel free to hate and complain. I'ma do my thing. And say what you like, 'cause this one ain't gonna change. I'ma do my thing. You don't know where I'm going, and so you think I'm lost. I ain't on your page, okay? So to you that means I'm off. When I dance to the beat of a drummer you don't hear and you can't see. So if I look offbeat to you, well the problem must be you, not me. Irregular and never